Hey Taxonomy Titans, before the episode begins, I just wanted to give you a little heads up that the sound quality is rough in half the conversation. We are tweaking our recording methods and it didn't work out too well this week. However, the episode is completely audible and you'll be able to hear all of the interesting animal info. As always, thanks for listening. The Ethiopian highlands are often called the roof of Africa, but the Tibetan Plateau is called the roof of the world. The land here is tens of thousands of feet above sea level, and it's surrounded by some of the tallest mountains on the planet. Living and surviving in a place that regularly drops to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit can be a challenge to the animals that live here. One unique mammal has found a way to team up with unsuspecting allies. Sometimes a reluctant and one-sided partnership is the best way a cunning fox can secure a meal in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal info for a 10th season. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
And today we're talking about an animal that David Attenborough once called the most wonderful looking fox, and also bizarre with a curious body. I guess a fox can be two things, but more on that later.
More on that later because David Attenborough can be wrong.
Apparently. Yeah. He's not infallible. He called the pika a rodent, which it is not. It's what is a lagomorph, like a bunny?
Yeah, it's in the rabbit and hare family.
Lagomorphs will be, or rather, the pika, which is what we did before. We've done that episode before. Is going to be an important element in this episode.
A star player. A Taxonomy Titan is one of the star players in this one.
That's right.
I don't even think we've talked about what we're talking about.
We haven't. Well, in the intro, I say we're talking about a fox, but what kind of fox is it? It's one.
What do you have something to say?
It's a Tibetan fox. Tibetan
Sounds
fox.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Okay, not fancy anymore.
I like Tibetan.
It's the Tibetan fox, also known as the Tibetan sand fox, or just the sand fox. Even though there is a sand fox, but that lives in Africa.
Is that another name for the fennec fox?
No.
It's just a different fox altogether.
Which is automatically less cute because the fennec fox is the cutest thing on the planet.
It is.
But we're going to call it here on LDT, the Tibetan fox. We're going to call it the fat cheeks fox. Tibetan on bears for food.
Oh, yeah.
And Feralata pikas to eat around here. Because the species is Feralata.
Oh, that's good. I like that. That was a good batch.
Not really a nickname, just a pun.
How many of those did Bibi come up with?
She helped me. She said fat cheeks fox for sure. She thought of the idea to use Tibetan as like bedding. So I took it and ran with it.
Okay.
Thank you, Bibi. But let's talk about where this thing taxonomizes, which is how I'm going to say it from now on.
Okay.
The kingdom, you like it, you love it, you're in it, you know it, you want some more of it. It's Animalia. The best kingdom. Except for the kingdom of God. It is the second best kingdom, I guess, we'll say. Animalia is. The phylum is Chordata, because it has a spine. The class is Mammalia, because it has chitinous hair, although apparently other things can have chitinous hair, just like the Ame mustache toad. It's not hair, but it's a chitinous mustache.
It's horns.
Yeah. And also, it's Mammalia because it lactates, and it's cute. Nothing outside of Mammalia is cute, except for the Dumbo octopus. The order is
You're saying
Carnivora.
chitin. You meant
Keratin.
Keratin.
Keratinus.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Why do they have to be so similar? Scientists. The order is Carnivora. Because, like I said before, it seems only mammals can be carnivores.
Which isn't true. Just taxonomy is weird.
Yeah, there should be a Carnivora in all of the classes in which there are predatory species.
Not necessarily, because it's already underneath Mammalia, so it's the carnivore mammals.
Yeah, but then why wouldn't you have like Reptilia and then Carnivora under that, and then you know it's a carnivore reptile?
Because there's different reptiles. There's a whole bunch of different types of reptiles, and it's not.
And there's a whole bunch of different types of mammals.
Yeah, but it's not neatly packaged. Like, I think all reptiles are a little. No, there's some iguanas that I think are just vegetarian.
Yeah, and there are birds that are vegetarian, like the Hoatzin. So they got some. There's a reason to distinguish it. Anyway, they didn't ask me when they decided to make the names for these taxonomy categories. So faults with them, really. The family is Canidae because it looks like a doggish thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I like how it's the family is. The name is just based on what it kind of looks like caniforms.
It's the form of a canine.
Kind of, yeah. Sure, it has 4 legs.
A snout.
And a face.
Yeah.
The genus is Vulpes, so mind your Vulpes and Qs when talking about it.
Okay.
All true foxes are in the genus Vulpes. And the species, like I said before, is Ferrolata, which sounds like a Starbucks drink.
That's true.
Like a Frappuccino latte, Ferrolata. But while we're in the business of naming things, let's talk about the best segment of the show.
Which remains
Critter groups. Oh, you got in the way of my intro. I'm going to have to do it again. Critter groups. Oh, my goodness. Critter groups. There, I did it. We're good.
Okay.
Where Carlos, ask you, Joe, a question. And the question is the same every time. What is the name of the collective noun for this animal? So, Joe, what is the collective name for foxes? That's what I meant to say. Is it A, a leash of foxes? Is it B, a clade of foxes? Is it C, a pack of foxes? Or is it D, a pounce of foxes?
I'm leaning towards clade and pack. Pack is like the boring one that you'd expect that may or may not be real.
Yeah, gotta have at least a couple of those in there.
I'm going with pack.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Incorrecto, which is Nepalese for, actually the answer was leash.
Oh, that's ridiculous, and I won't have it.
Oh, come on, leash is a good one.
No, it isn't. When have you ever seen a fox on a leash?
I don't know, maybe they... as I'm going to talk about later, they are monogamous, so they are leashed together. Matrimony.
You thought taxonomy was arbitrary and bad. Wait, get a load of animal group names.
At least they can have fun with it. Like Pink Floyd.
Right.
I like it because you just never know. There's
exactly.
no way for you to use logic.
It's absolute randomness.
Yes, thank you. Just like Measure Up. Anyway, let's talk about where this thing lives.
It's based on math, which is pretty concrete.
Yeah, but the math is based on an estimate, which is a crapshoot.
Not unless you know like stuff about like regional geography, world records, you know.
So you're saying what you're saying is that unless you know the information,
no,
you can't guess the information.
You can know something a little about the information. Like if you're really good at topographical geography, you are pretty good at probably like ballparking the elevation of certain mountains.
Well, then I know exactly
But you don't
What I'm not
necessarily
good at.
know the exact number, but you can make an educated guess. Whereas I need to just know the exact fact to get the critter groups right.
Yeah, that's why it's better. Anyway, let's talk about where this thing lives.
Okay.
It only lives on the Tibetan Plateau. It is the Tibetan fox, after all. And if you don't know where the Tibetan Plateau is, it is a region of the world that stretches from northeastern Nepal and then way into southwest China.
You can see it from space.
Can you tell? Really?
Yeah, because it's a different color. Because it's higher.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a huge region.
Uh-huh.
It's like the Sahara Desert size, and it's a very high elevation, very high evolution, elevation. There we go. Which is why it's a plateau. It's a big, giant mountain table. So let's talk about where this thing, or what this thing looks like on top of that lofty plateau. They look foxy, that's for sure, but their faces are pretty distinct. This is definitely the oddest looking fox I've ever seen. Their fur is thick, and it gives them a rounded looking face, kind of like an owl's or a Maine Coon's or something like that. It actually looks kind of regal. It has these like kind of slit eyes that give it a detached and disinterested expression, like it's like some sort of king that's judging the people below him.
I saw, I think, some comment somewhere where somebody said the Tibetan fox looks like a kid tried to draw a regular fox, and it was close but not quite right.
But they were asked to draw a regular fox, but they were given a picture of a tiger.
It looks like a cartoon version of a fox.
No, cartoon versions of foxes have like longer snouts.
Like it looks really sly. Like with its eyes slit like that, it looks like you're really trying to bake slyness into the way the creature looks.
It's about as sly as it could possibly get.
Sly Fox Day.
That would have been my my family the family that I taxonomized this thing into would be Sly Fox a Day.
Okay.
So their fur, while thick, because they have to live up there near the Himalayas and stuff, they have a rufous, which is a reddish brown fur on their backs, the top half of their faces, and their legs. Their bottom halves are gray with patches of white and black, so they are a calico fox.
Interessante.
Okay. But it really helps them blend into where they live, which is brown and gray rocks. So,
if you look at other animals like the snow leopard, the Pallas's cat, they all have the same kind of color palette,
which is grayish and
that's like
splotchy.
Speckled, splotchy gray.
Because that's where they live, is this speckled, splotchy gray wasteland. So the Tibetan fox has smallish ears, long bushy tail, like a fox, but it almost kind of has a wolfish tone to it. But it's a lot smaller than any wolf.
It is it's got like a very short legs and a squattiness to it.
Like my dog.
Yeah, it's a wolf version of Yoshi.
It's what he dreams about being one day.
He doesn't dream about being a full-size wolf. Even in his wildest dreams, he's still like a short version of a wolf.
Yeah, he's just him with wolf features on his face.
Okay. Are you ready for the actual listener's favorite part of the show?
We don't know that. We'll never know that.
It's I think we'll find out soon. Soon enough. But it is...
Is that a threat?
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show that, until empirical evidence shows otherwise, is everyone's favorite, the part of the show where I pose quiz questions to Carlos to convey the animal's size and dimensions in relatable terms. Welcome back. No, actually, no. This is not the season of woe anymore. The season of woe has ended.
Have we graduated?
We've graduated, but the questions are still going to be increasing in relatability with each passing episode. But it's also the part of the show that's introduced by either a listener or an animal still. If you would like to submit your own Measure Up intro, just say, sing, or bark the words Measure Up into your phone's recording app and email it to ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. Today, we have a new Measure Up, kind of, from another longtime friend of the show, Calvin.
Hooray!
Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
May I please do it, Mommy?
Okay.
Hi, Carlos. I'm eating some cereal.
You have to say measure up.
I don't want to say it.
Oh.
So,
Calvin, no.
I mean, somebody said Measure Up in it, so that's
True.
good.
True. Joy said measure up. That's great.
But he
Calvin,
is eating cereal, and he wanted you to know.
But he didn't want to say measure up.
No, he didn't.
I mean, I guess we can't make anybody do anything, huh?
Good. That should be how it is. All right, let's move right into weight. Let's talk about length, actually. Adult foxes of the Tibetan variety, they weigh between 60 and 70. I mean, they are 60 and 70 centimeters. Man, I can't wait till we talk about weight. But that is 24 to 28 inches. Let's call that 65 centimeters or 26.5 inches. How many foxes go into the horn of a domestic yak?
One horn?
Yeah. Here's a hint. Because of a lack of arable land, many Tibetan farmers raise animals and cattle, including domestic cattle. With this particular yak, the domestic yak, has the binomial name Boss Grunions. And does that not sound like a Star Wars character?
Yeah, it definitely does. It sounds like the kingpin at some seedy tavern.
It sure does.
So, is this the first measure up where where it's less than 1? The answer is less than 1. Is it going to be 0.75 foxes?
It's hard to say.
Because then you would say, you could really trick me here. Because usually when the object is smaller than the animal, then you say how many of the object goes into the animal. But since you haven't done that, I would be led to say that that's probably not the case. But you're devious and you seem to really hate me. So I'm going to go with 1. 1 fox goes into 1 yak horn.
Final answer?
Yes.
You are correct. It's 1 to 1.5. The domestic yak male's horn is 48 to 99 centimeters, or 19 to 39 inches.
It's a long horn.
It is a longhorn steakhouse. Let's move on to weight. I've been so excited to do that.
Yeah, I know. Goodness.
It's between 4 and 5.5 kilograms, or 8.8 to 12.1 pounds. Oh my gosh, that's so specific, scientists. You couldn't just round to 1, huh?
Nope, it's 12.1 pounds.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the highest that they've ever, the heaviest one they found is 12.1.
Gotcha. So let's just round that out let's average that out to 10.5 pounds. Okay. How many foxes go into the weight of the world's largest rice dumpling?
Huh.
Here's a hint. The dumpling was made in Yunlin, Taiwan, by the Yunlin County government in 2005.
Why Taiwan?
It's in China. Well, not really. It's just
no.
It's just China adjacent.
Sure, this is a stretch. You can find something Nepalese.
I just looked up the largest dumpling, and I was hoping it would be like it was at least Chinese.
Okay. I'm always wrong with these two. I'm just not good at estimating anything. I mean, I want to say 50 pounds, but it could be 3,000 pounds. I don't know what science has done to make this possible. Just the culinary arts are far beyond my speculation or imagination, or interest. I'm going to say 100 pounds. This thing's 10.5 pounds, so I'm going to say a solid 11.
Okay, 11 foxes.
Yes.
Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer is 276 foxes.
So much bigger.
1,316 kilograms or 2,901 pounds.
A
4 ounces.
ton of dumpling.
Yeah, I mean, the government made it.
That's a waste of taxpayer dollars.
It is.
It put Taiwan on the map, and that was the point. You know?
Yeah, well, yeah. It put the Yunlin County county on the map.
And they were really vying for that position on the map, so they made a ton of dumpling.
Yeah.
Just to trick me too.
Well, they wanted when people to be like, "Did you hear about what Yunlin did? They made like a ton of dumplings." And they were like, "Well, how many?" And we're like, "No, literally a ton."
It's just one ton
Yeah.
of the dumpling. Are we done?
Yeah. Do you have any fast facts?
I do. Let's talk about where its habitat. It likes to live in semi-arid and arid grasslands on the plateau. Sometimes at heights. What?
I said that makes one of us.
I wouldn't mind having a hut, like a nice hut with Wi-Fi up there. I like arid climates more than hot and muggy ones.
I like hot and muggy.
Nah, it's gross. Everything sticks to everything, and I don't want to go outside. But arid and semi-arid.
But in arid, everything chafes everything.
Not me. I thrive. So that's because the heights can be as much as 17,000 feet above sea level, all the way down to about 2,000. But still, 2,000 is about the lowest level on the Tibetan Plateau.
Tibetan.
Yes. No, I'm not saying it. But 17,000 feet, that's higher than most mountains. So up there, not a lot of vegetation can grow. They don't like to be around people or dense vegetation. They like wide open plains and essentially kind of a sparse rocky place that in the videos looks a lot like Mordor.
Cool.
So here's what they like to eat, because there's not a lot up there. But there are rodents, hares, and marmots, which are the things that they usually chow down on. But their absolute favorite food is the plateau pika, which we hinted at earlier, and you're going to talk about more. And it's also the thing that Sir David Attenborough erroneously called a rodent. Like we said, it's actually a lagomorph. And they're mostly solitary hunters, but they also mate for life, so they're solitary but also romantic. They build their dens on slopes, and their pups stay with their parents until they're 10 months old. And
Cool.
that's the end of my fast facts.
Wow. Those are some fast facts. And they were pretty good, but they aren't as major as the major fact, which is happening right now. The Tibetan fox engages in what's called commensalism. Commensalism sounds like... Do you? I'll tell you what it is, and you tell me if you do it. Commensalism is a form of interspecies cooperation where one species is benefited and the other is not benefited or harmed.
Sometimes I'll pick up a lizard and look at it for my own benefit, and the lizard is neither harmed nor benefited from my interaction with
There
it.
could be some psychological harm.
But we don't know. We have no way of measuring that, so I have to default to commensalism for that relationship.
Every time you're having a bad day and you have to go pick up like your dog's poop, then they're engaging in commensalism with you. Like you're not getting any benefit out of it. But
neither are they, though.
Yeah, sure they are. They're getting to go on walkies.
No, but they don't benefit from you.
And they get scritches and things.
They don't care if their poop is left. They actually probably think it's really weird.
So it's
some sort of fascination.
So that's more of a mutual, like you're zealously guarding their poops, and then you don't like even having to pick them up. So it's this like version of cooperation where nobody's benefiting.
Well, it's mutualism having a dog because they benefit from your care and protection, and you benefit from their just adorable faces and barks.
Yeah. So you mentioned it. Other forms of interspecies interaction include mutualism or symbiosis, which is when both species are benefited. And then there's parasitism, which is when only one species benefits and the other is harmed. But commensalism is different than that because the other species is not harmed, but they're not benefiting necessarily. So one of the clearest examples of commensalism is seen in remora fish that hang out around larger fish and eat like their scraps. Like if you look at a shark, those little fish are remoras and they're commensalizing with the shark.
I would also say that the Ethiopian wolf does commensalism because it likes to hang out near cattle where remember we talked about it in episode 2 of this show, where there's the cattle would stand over the big-headed mole rats, and the mole rats would hear the cattle, know that the cattle are not going to hurt them, and they would come out and about knowing that everything was fine, but the hooves of the cattle would mask the footsteps of the wolf, and so the wolf would be able to eat the rodents.
Yes, that is commensalism.
But the cattle do not benefit. I get it.
Oh yeah, and I don't know what the deal is with them and the gelada. They hang around together. I think it's the same thing. The sound of the monkeys masks the sound of the wolves.
Oh, you're back to the Ethiopian wolf? Yeah.
But dogs and canidaes also routinely engage in commensalism. But specifically the Tibetan fox lives in areas like of Asia, like the Himalayas, and specifically the Tibetan Plateau that have very high elevation. Up there it gets extremely cold, and the ground conceals a layer of permafrost. Permafrost is a layer of dirt and rock that remains permanently frozen. It's usually just beneath an active layer, quote unquote, of soil that's not always frozen. So there's soil, and then there's permafrost underneath it. And it makes it difficult for things to grow. And there's another problem with it that the Tibetan fox encounters. So in the Tibetan fox's range, the best thing on the menu, like you said, is pikas or pikas. Unfortunately for the fox, they like to burrow into the permafrost, which is difficult for the fox to get through.
My question is, why is it possible for the pika to get through it, but the fox has a hard time getting through it? I feel like if the pika could do it, the fox can do it.
I think because as a burrowing animal, it has because the Alaskan pika I don't think made its own burrows. It took burrows and found things. Hard to say, don't know for sure, but they do, and here's the problem. The fox can't get in. So they follow around brown bears, and up there on the Tibetan Plateau, there's very cool and interesting looking brown bears that are basically they're grizzlies. They're very close to grizzlies. I'm not sure if they have a different species, but they are, according to David Attenborough, like basically grizzlies with a different name.
They're grizzlies in all but name. I had no idea that brown bears were in China.
Yeah. Of course. They're in Russia. You know about that. So why can't they be in China? So these particular brown bears have like these very interesting like furry ears that like are big and tufted, and go look up a picture. It's cool, but they're exceedingly rare and apparently difficult to find. But the Tibetan fox finds them and follows them around because bears are strong enough to root out these pikas because they can dig through the permafrost. They're strong enough and their claws are stabby enough to do it. So when they're digging, they dig in, and then the pikas run for the hills where the fox is waiting to catch them.
Out of the frying pan and into the fire situation, like
The
Hobbit.
Yeah. So because canines like to commensalate a lot, it's possible that this behavior led to us having pepperonis in our houses today. Natural historians believe that dog domestication has lasted longer than agriculture, and fossils seem to suggest that dogs would follow human hunters in the same way that foxes follow bears, hoping to snag a meal. Dangerous dogs were killed off by humans that were, if they were sticking around the tribe or the group, then they would just kill them off because they were dangerous and scary. But then friendly ones were rewarded. So the friendly dogs were continuing their lineage where the mean dogs were not. So over time, dogs and people cooperated more and more and more until they were fully domesticated. And there was lots of steps along the way, but that's the gist of the theory.
Wow.
So there you have it. Commensalism makes lifelong friends.
We we should commensalate with other animals. Hawks.
I wonder what examples of times when humans commensalated with other things, like we followed something around to get No.
I guess if you're a scavenger and you eat what another predator's left behind, you're commensalating.
Right, that's true.
Like vultures commensalate.
I think
unless they scare off the predator, in which the predator does not benefit, it harms them.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's all a matter of motive and perspective.
So I guess the honey badger is another example. Like they commensalate with that type of bird.
Oh yeah.
They follow that bird because it leads them to honey.
Well, now that's mutually beneficial because the bird wants honey too.
Oh.
They help each other. The bird knows how to find the honey, and the badger knows how to get the honey once they get there. So they're like two members of an RPG.
Yes, they're on a team.
They're the rogue and the knight.
Yeah.
They just need a wizard.
The bee is the wizard, and it's not doing well.
The bee is the wizard. I hate wizard bees. They're too smart.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, that was the Tibetan fox. So go look up a picture of this thing if you have the opportunity and are not driving, because it's a sly, but I would say regal-looking beast. Also, look up a picture of that crazy grizzly bear because it has adorable tufts on its ears, basically a teddy bear.
Yeah.
Just don't treat it like a teddy bear if you encounter one. I think there are very few of them in the wild, so there's a fat chance of that happening. But for you out there in Podcastia, be regal. Take advantage of the opportunities when they arise. And commensalate with other species, like the Tibetan fox here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey LDT listeners, thanks for listening to another season of Interesting Animal Info. We forgot to say our thank yous last episode, so here they are, at the beginning of our 10th season.
As always, we want to thank Brian, who creates all the art for each episode. If you haven't seen it, check it out at ldtaxonomy.com, and take a look at some of Brian's other work at xnamaru on Twitter and Instagram.
We also want to thank frequent contributors like the Pools and the barrel-chested woodcarver Tom.
And don't forget the expert dog bark impersonator, Alora.
Finally, thank you to my girlfriend Johanna, who created some amazing LDT cover art, which you can see when you go and subscribe on your favorite podcast app.
We also want to thank my wife, Bibi, who puts up with us recording in the closet and helps me come up with all the good animal nicknames.
As we grow nearer to our 100th episode, let us know what we should do to celebrate. Also, stay tuned for a special announcement.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
We're coming up on election season, and it's your chance to get out there and let your voice be heard. Yes, you have an opportunity to cast your vote for local and federal representatives, but more importantly, you'll have the chance to vote for the best segment of Life, Death, and Taxonomy. Voting will start December 3rd on Twitter and Facebook. If you don't follow us, we are LD Taxonomy everywhere. Get out there and make your vote count towards the most important decision of 2019.